Let's try this again. This is legit the 7th time I'm filming this because it's just not an easy thing to basically confess something like this to a camera. And it's a huge thing, but I just know that I will feel so much better if I just put this out there. I have MS, multiple sclerosis. It's an incurable autoimmune disease. To this day, they haven't found a cure yet. The reason I'm doing this video is because I just remember first thing I did as well was going on YouTube, being like, is there other people that have this? What is it? It's an autoimmune disease. That much they know by now. Still, science hasn't entirely found anything yet, and it's treatable to a certain point, but that's something I will make another video about. People that have MS, like I said, it's a nerve sickness. You don't see it. I don't have like a red spot on my forehead and it says MS or anything. But generally, worst case scenario that can happen to people that have MS is that they end up in a wheelchair because they can't feel their body anymore. I know that people keep thinking that it has to do something with bones because it says sclerosis, but it's not. It's really just a nerve thing. Your brain works giving an impulse to your body saying like, put up your hand. And then you put up your hand. But if the nerve that is controlling that is that much damaged, maybe the impulse is not running through there entirely anymore. I was diagnosed 2 years ago after I had my second push. The sickness works in pushes. There's 2 different types of MS. There's the one that gradually worsens itself, and there's the one that works in pushes, and that's the one that I have. In general, what happens is that my immune system, which you would think is a good thing that you have that, well, mine decided to constantly overwork itself to the point where it's damaging me. So what it does is that it damages the outer shell of the nerves. What happens after a while when you have that, you get like basically holes in your brain. Like not real holes, but you can see scars that are done at your nerves. It does that to a point where you have trouble with different things. So common things that you notice when you have MS is that you have weird feelings in your body, starting with tingling things, or that you can't feel certain things anymore. Those are all symptoms that you have if you're experiencing a push right now. Or it could also go that way that you can't see for a while because your nerve of your eye is completely infected. So I'm just gonna tell my personal story, how I was diagnosed and everything leading up to that point. 3 years ago, I was at an internship. I just finished high school and did internships because that's what you do. I was at this one internship and I was constantly overworking myself basically to the point where it's just too much. I was also working every Saturday at a drugstore thing as a cashier. So I was basically working Monday to Friday and then also on a Saturday. It was a lot. But back then, just like I think everyone or most people that experience these things, I didn't care. Because I grew up in a family where it's like, well, you're sick, okay, fine, but you go to school first and then you can call us and we pick you up but you have to try to go to school first. So I was just basically function, and I did that. I did that until I got really, really bad back pain. But I ignored the back pain because like, whatever, back pain, it's not completely influencing your life or anything. So I just ignored that. 2 months later, I think, it was something like 2 months actually even maybe 3 months. I completely ignored it. One Saturday, I woke up and I got up and I tried to open up the blinds of my room, and I was struck by such an immense pain that everything was like, I was not able to do anything anymore. I called my mom, told her I'm feeling really, really awful, like I can't go to work today. And this time she realized I was serious, and so I stayed home, and we just thought maybe it's like a really, really bad cold. So I stayed in bed the entire day, but nothing got better. Actually, it got really, really worse. It came to the point where I was laying on a couch, napping a little bit, and I was like shivering. I didn't know what was going on in my body, but we still waited for a day just to look. Maybe I need to get some rest, and then look if something changes. It didn't. It actually got worse. I remember telling my mom how much I was in pain. Then she called a colleague of hers that is a doctor, and he basically told her, like, bring her to the hospital ASAP. So we did that. Waited horrible, horrible hours at the hospital because it was a Sunday by then, and Sundays are crowded in hospitals. They ran thousands of tests with me. One of them was the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my entire life. It was when they took the fluid from my spine. They take like a needle this thick, no joke, and they ram it into your spine because that's the only way they can get that fluid out. I'm usually not a whiny person, but I screamed. Then I had to stay in the hospital for a week because my blood test showed everything is like highly inflamed. Everything was something they couldn't really explain. Also my blood was somehow toxic. I was just not well. So I stayed there, and what they usually do if you have high inflammations in your body, they give you cortisone, because cortisone is the only substance that can lower inflammations quickly. So I got high dosage of cortisone. And after, I think, like 2 days, I was basically sleeping for 2 days straight. Oh, I forgot. I also, like, my left arm was tingling. Also for weeks on. So my left arm was still there. Like, it was still feeling weird. But my back pain was getting better. And just my overall situation felt better. When I left the hospital after a week, I was fine. Everything was fine. Absolutely. Everyone was so happy. My family, my mom, everyone was just so relieved that it seemed like I was okay again. I just remember the doctors being like, it could be a mess, but they're not sure. And the doctor, she really didn't stress enough that there is a high percentage that it could be MS. Like, I don't want to blame her, but no one, and I'm not the only one with this, my mom is the same thing, dad is the same thing, I talked with them about this thousands of times. They didn't seriously explain enough that there's a high percentage that it could be MS. So no one took it seriously. All of us just thought, okay, this was a one-time situation. This was just bad. Whatever it was, it's gone now. I feel fine now. Let's move on. I continued to do everything like I used to do it. I was 18, 19 back then. My life as a 19-year-old consisted out of parties, way too much work, no rest, not that good nutrition, no sport, nothing. I was not doing anything good for my body. Fast forward 3 years from then, I experienced my second push. By then I was in college, and I was also working part-time to earn some money, and I did these promotion jobs. And one of the promotion jobs was It was really cold Germany winter ugly weather. That was -2 degrees daytime. And our job was give coffee to people in front of a supermarket. I did that straight for 4 days in the cold. I was constantly cold. It was absolutely awful. One of the worst jobs I've ever done. And I just remember coming home from this trip that was also, once again, really stressful. So I got home, and the next day I have to go to university again, and I wake up and I can't feel my feet. And once again, that's nothing that completely influences your life that moment on. Like, that's something you still like, can't feel my feet. Maybe they just fell asleep. Maybe I don't know, some nerve is like, I don't know, weird right now and I need like massages or whatever. Once again, didn't take it seriously. I just thought like, okay, that's new. Waited for another 6 weeks. To the weird feet thing came dizziness. And that one was bad. That one got like, especially when I got stressed, and I'm the person that puts herself into stressful situations a lot, which is stupid, but I just do that. So every single time I was late for something, every single time I had to basically go faster to something, whatever, I felt incredibly dizzy. To the point where I was really like, wow, I need to slow down. I can't see. I told this my mom, and my mom then directly sent me to the doctor and said like, you need to get this checked. Went to the doctor, told him, okay, I feel dizzy and I can't feel my feet. And those are not like, that's not something a normal doctor can work with. Like, he doesn't know what that means. After 2 weeks of treatment from him, I swallowed some kind of medication that's supposed to help dizziness. Didn't. So the doctor didn't know what to do. So he sent me to a specialist, and I have to read it from my phone because I can't possibly pronounce it. Otorhinolaryngologist. So that's the first step I made on the long journey of doctors I went to. So that one didn't find anything either. So next up was the neurologist. Neurologist couldn't find anything either. So I ended up in the MRT. The radiologist, the big one where you're put into that awful tube that is incredibly loud, and that was fucking awful, and I have to go there pretty often. And I remember when I came out there, the guy that looked at basically the pictures of my head and my body came out very panicky. He legit told me, you have to go to the hospital as soon as you can. It's not looking very good. So once again, I was experiencing a push, and my entire body was inflamed. Again, like everything was just horrible. And by that time, because of course I remembered the last time I went to the hospital, and I just knew, okay, this seems incredibly terrible, everything. So I just remember going to the neurologist again, because she's the one that signs the paper that you can go to the hospital. And I just remember breaking down crying because I was scared. I was really scared. And I remember like being completely, wow, what the hell is happening? Like this time I was really conscious in the hospital. Like I knew what was going on. The last time I was absolutely basically dead, and I couldn't, like, they did everything with me and I couldn't even say no. This time I really was like really experiencing, actually realizing what was going on. And I just remembered them doing all types of tests. I had this feeling that it wasn't good what they did. Like basically, if they do this, you're not gonna go out like, oh, you just have a cold. So this time around, once again, cortisone, because cortisone is the only thing that can actually lower pushes or like help with inflammations instantly. This time the doctor was a little bit more serious about things. Like she told me specifically, we have the results now. And funny thing is, my first push happened 3 years prior in the same week. It was the same week. And I was in the hospital again. Like, they just said, like, that's so odd. You're here in the same week 3 years later. So, she said, like, they compared the pictures they had from 3 years ago and now, and they can actually see, like, so they said, like, they compared the pictures and they can definitely say it's a mess now. I was shocked. Or I wouldn't even say I was that shocked, because the thing finally had a name. That kind of relieved me in the sense of I can actually name it now. And I was lucky that I got everything back. Every single weird feeling that I had at a push, it came back. I don't know exactly why, but it happened, and I'm very thankful for that. What I still have is that in very stressful situations, I get very dizzy. Sometimes if I work out and if I give too much, I get dizzy. Or sometimes if I like run somewhere and go, like I get dizzy. Fucking sucks, let me tell you, because I need like 3 seconds to actually like calm down, and it's not cool. It's just not fucking cool. If you're wondering why I'm maybe like telling this story like it's absolutely nothing, because it doesn't feel like much anymore for me. Like, I accepted it. And that's something that I want everyone that is recently diagnosed to know. It's gonna get better. I know right now is fucking awful. Like, everything changes. Like, it's a huge thing. It's also, like, I met people before that just completely ignored it. That's gonna backfire. I guarantee you that. I get it. It's awful. You just have to give it time. It's the cheesiest thing in the world to say that, because it's such an overused statement that time cures everything. But in certain situations, it's actually true. And this one is one of them. I'm not saying I'm cured. Hell no, not at all. But the immediate shock that I experienced is subsided. It's okay now. I can live with it. I accepted it. I did a lot of things that helped me accept it. Like, I got a tattoo. There's certain things I want to give you. I wish someone would have told me when I was recently diagnosed. First of all would be, calm down. You're not going to end up in a wheelchair tomorrow. Or let's say 90% of the time you won't. Like, of course I can't speak for everyone, but I just know from the experience that I made and from the experience, like from the people that I know that have it or whatever. I read a lot on the internet. It usually doesn't happen overnight. Like, the really bad things don't happen overnight. Also, don't stress. And that's so ridiculous that I'm saying that, because I am the number one person that stresses herself constantly. But it's just my nature. I can't change it. I turned it down a shit ton. Don't stress. It's the worst thing that makes absolutely everything worse. It's the sickness's number one friend. You don't want them to be friends. You don't. You want them to be enemies at best. Third, see tons of doctors. First of all would be get a second opinion. I got a second opinion as well, because who says it can't be something different? So first of all, get a second opinion. Second of all, get a doctor you trust. And that usually takes a little bit of time. It takes trying out different doctors. And I know it fucking sucks. Once again, no fun. No fun whatsoever. But at the same time, after time, you find who's good for you. Look for someone that you trust, that you can open up with, and actually tell them how you feel, because they actually should try to help you because it's their job. Not saying that everyone does, but it should, like, somehow they should help you. And number 5, and that is like something very drastic, which I want to address in the next video a little bit further. But think of the life you're living right now as, what are the things that are not very beneficial? Like, are you overworking yourself constantly? Are you at a job that doesn't make you happy? Are you in a relationship that doesn't make you happy? Are you not happy with yourself? Like, there's MS, and there's a lot of literature you can read on that. Most of the times basically breaks out of a very, very, very big unhappiness and big sadness and huge emotion that is not a positive one. Try to, I would say, analyze the way you're living your life. No, not giving you rules yet, saying like you have to change that, you have to, no. I'm just saying reflect, because that can already give you tons of answers to questions you didn't ask before that need to be answered. Those would be the 5 things I would absolutely recommend people to do. How do I live with that? I just do. I just accept it. The fact there are days where my body just says basically, fuck you. You're not gonna do anything today. You're not gonna leave the bed. You're maybe gonna go to the fridge and take a shower, and that's a lot. That's a lot. Because there are days where my body just doesn't have it. And I accepted that. It's not cool still to this day, but I accepted it. Don't give up. Don't. Right after the diagnosis, I went into a big depression again. Once again, different video, because it's just, there's more sides to the story. I want to end this on a kind of positive note. I want to tell you, first of all, you are not alone. In Germany alone, 120,000 people have this. As soon as you have this, you will get to know other people that have it. It's okay. You're not by yourself. I know it feels like that. It feels like you're completely left alone with something you can't deal with yet. But you will be able to deal with it after a while. After some time. After you devoured it, basically. So take the time you need. And if that's 3 weeks, it's 3 weeks. If that's 3 years, then it's 3 years. You are not responsible for your feelings, or you're not responsible for anyone else's feelings. And you're not, like, be selfish a little bit, because you actually have to. Stop just thinking about everyone else. Now is the time to be a little bit selfish, because your body is telling you the way you're doing it right now, not working. So this is the time to be selfish. And this is the time to actually listen to your body. Don't listen to whatever. It's always like that. Everyone knows better what's good for you, whatever. The one person that can actually tell what's good for you and what's not is you. So listen to your body. Do some research. It's one of the first things I did as well. I researched a ton. It's gonna get better. You're gonna grow from this. You're gonna get stronger. I got a shit ton stronger through this. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen in 2 weeks or 3 months or whatever. Maybe I get a push. Maybe that's, like, of course I can't know, but what I do know is that if I'm anxious all the time, and if I'm just scared all the time, it's not good for my body, and it's not good for my mind or anything, so I choose not to. I choose to be happy. Cheesiness alert, I have this on my water bottle. I choose to be not what the sickness wants me to be, which is sad, which is miserable, which is basically giving up on life. Not doing that. And you shouldn't either. A lot is going to change. You're gonna lose friends because there's people that can't deal with it. There's family members that can't deal with it, or even ignore it, that it's even there. You won't ever be able to ignore it because you know it's there until it happens to you. It's a very cheesy song of Lady Gaga, but it's the truth. Everything is cheesecake until it happens to you. I want to close this video saying that everyone that wants to talk about this, everyone that wants advice, everyone that wants whatever, feel free to write something in the comments. Feel free to contact me on other social media platforms. I'm absolutely happy to talk about this. I don't think it's a good way to just mute this away, because it's not going to go away. I remember one of my doctors being like, one of the first things he said to me is like, you don't have to tell this to anyone. Like, it's a secret. Like, it's not supposed to get into public that I have this, which is still a mindset that I will never understand. Because yes, of course, I could run into problems with job situations, because you're basically considered a disabled person now. Like, you can actually go to the state and get a disabled pass now. But that doesn't necessarily mean you help anyone with keeping this to yourself. If you want to keep it to yourself for whatever reason, do you. But I just don't like the mindset that a lot of people have, like this is something we put into the back of everyone's mind. Let's just whatever, because it doesn't help anyone. If a lot more people would be aware of this, we would be nicer to each other. And if a lot more people would be aware that there's people struggling with this and having to work through this, people would be different. And I'm very convinced of that. And it's just a fact that we don't really communicate anymore. And I'm not saying like, I'm not going to tell you details of what is going on in my body, but I will let you know that I'm sick. If I tell this to people, people look at me in a different light, which at first was a little bit weird because you make yourself very vulnerable. But most of the time, people actually embrace it in the sense of, usually people don't want something bad for you. That's just not a natural thing. If you tell them something not vulnerable like this, they're more likely to help you. I don't see a point in keeping it to yourself. I honestly don't. So that's why I'm making this video, because I think it's something that needs to be talked about. More sicknesses need to be talked about. If you're talking about cancer, everyone knows what cancer is. Everyone has a different image in their head what cancer is. And with multiple sclerosis, a lot of people don't even know what it is because it's so complex. It works different for absolutely everyone that has it. Not everyone has the same symptoms. Not everyone experiences pushes that regularly. Sometimes people have one push and then 20 years nothing, and then I have the next push. So it's something that is not visible, but that should be talked about, because it just helps people that are experiencing this to cope with it. Speaking about things is a way of healing. That's how therapy works. If you talk about problems, you actually can resolve them within yourself. So thank you so much for watching. Honestly, it feels so good to talk about this on the internet and social media. Share this with people. Show it to your friends. Show it to your mom. Show it to people that actually have it. Like I said before, I'm gonna make more videos than this, and I'm gonna talk about this a lot because it's something that influences my life deeply. And thank you for wasting your time with me.